Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá ni ẹ dìbò náà fún ọmọlúwàbí Ọ̀ṣun olóríire Ọ̀ṣun àrẹ̀mú Ọ̀ṣun ó ti sọ̀tún ní tuntun ó sọ gbódilé ó tàṣàdọjà ó sì sáwò ìyàrá olóríire ọmọ Arẹ́gbẹ́ṣọlá ńlẹ́ ọmọlúwàbí Ọ̀ṣun Ìjẹ̀ṣà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ọmọ ilẹ̀ òbí tẹ́ni gbọ́lá o ọmọ agbọ́dọ̀ pọ̀ nílé mọ̀yọ́ lẹ́lẹ́ lóró ẹlẹ́fọ̀n ń kékèké ní sàṣọlódé ìsájọ gbọ́dọ̀ tẹ̀ ní aṣáṣọ àwọn Ìjẹ̀ṣà èyí tán rí lọ́jà ní ẹ̀rọ wá fún mi nílé máa rí yeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyeyey
Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTv News, expanding your view.
Good evening, CoreTv News at 7 with me, Tolu Ojewumi. Nigeria's new Inspector General of Police has assumed office with a pledge to intensify the fight against crime. Suleiman Abba took over from his predecessor, Mohammed Abubakar. And the new Inspector General of Police, who until his appointment was the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of zone, also promised to build on the reforms of his predecessor.
Myself and Suleiman Abba is my junior brother, by all standards. I have guided him through to the best I can do through the service. And today, I'm handing over to him at the Inspector General of Police. And I have the belief that Abba will do his best in the circumstances he found himself in the Nigeria Police. And I believe he's an officer who listens, who takes advice, who is smart, who have the ability and the capacity to be able to run the force. So therefore, I will beg officers and men of the police who are in service to please, as you supported me, as you stood by me, as you partner with me, please give him the same cooperation, if not more or higher than you have given me.
The recent upsurge in security challenges will have my full attention. I'm committed to address these issues and reaffirm the high standards of performance for which the Nigeria Police is nationally and internationally acclaimed. In consonance with the President's transformation agenda, I will develop and implement constructive policing strategies for the maintenance of a stable democracy and economic growth. My team will also ensure that policing becomes truly intelligence-led, law enforcement and crime prevention initiatives are integrated and supportive of each other. We will do whatever it takes. And those who know me will tell you, I don't say for joke. I will do whatever is necessary to bring the excesses of violent criminals to a halt.
National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki has reaffirmed the government position that it had no hand in the recent gun and bomb attack on the former head of state, Muhammadu Buhari. Dasuki told State House correspondents that as far back as February, the Boko Haram had said Buhari was an infidel that was supposed to be dealt with.
There was a threat as far back as February this year, issued by Sheikh Au, calling them infidels by name and by position, and saying that they were in trouble, they were going to see. Because the first thing that happened, instead of looking at what are the issues, people jump to conclusion, certain statements were, the government is responsible. Well, the government was not responsible. And if you say government was responsible in case of General Buhari, why didn't you say the same thing in case of Sheikh Dahir Bauchi? And we said it not because we had facts, but because it is what sells the papers. That is the unfortunate thing. And we tried to show, look, there is this issue. It was not only General Buhari, not only Sheikh Dahir Bauchi, but there were some other leaders who were mentioned too. And that is the thing. So it's still calling on the press to be very, very mindful what you put out there, what you carry. Even if somebody is foolish enough to say something stupid, you shouldn't help him spread it. You should be the sane voice there when our senses take leave of us.
Nigeria has raised over 60 billion naira for the Boko Haram Victim Support Fund. The amount was realized from donations from the public and private sectors at a special fundraising dinner hosted by President Goodluck Jonathan. The highest donation was from Tony Elumelu with 2.5 billion naira, while the chairman of the Victim Support Fund, Theophilus Danjuma, gave $10 million. Speaking at the occasion, Jonathan assured Nigerians that the government would not give up in its fight against terrorism.
Today, as we seek to raise funds to cater for the victims of terrorism in our land, we are doing this with every sense of responsibility to the citizenry. This is just one of the several steps this administration is taking to address this unfortunate development in the land. The fact that we are setting up a victim support fund does not mean we have accepted that terrorism is here to stay. No, never. Rather, this is just one of the short-term measures in our overall strategy against the enemies of peace and progress. We will not allow evil to overcome good. No, we will not.
The use of female suicide bombers has become a worrying development in the country. Recently, a 10-year-old girl strapped with a suicide bomber's explosive was intercepted by the police alongside her 18-year-old sister. Speaking on our flagship program, Co-Digest, human rights activist J.O.K. Odumake and public affairs analyst Dipo Olaoko say a proactive measure is needed to stop the act.
Anybody that fired himself or herself up with bombs will know the likely effect. That is why there's a need for us to begin to study the psychology of these people. How did they get to that level? What made them to be hopeless? What made them to be so wicked as not to die alone, but to take some people along in a very brutal manner? Because bomb explosion is not a tea party. At times after the thing, you will see body parts scattered and littered in the place. So I think what we need to do, it should be the concern of everybody. How do we make sure that, yes, already we have, a lot of them are in their camps. And you know, I can tell maybe some of them are in the next building. So how do we make sure that they don't visit maximum damage on Nigerians? So
the recent female bombers we've been having has assumed a worrisome and dangerous dimension. And if one comes to think of the fact that there's something called Stockholm syndrome. It happened in Sweden when a bank was raided and some people were held hostage. And something called victim emotional bonding. The victim had to bond with the abuser. So thinking of the fact that our Chibok girls have now spent 109 days, indoctrination can take place. That victim emotional bonding can take place. The abuser can be seen as a friend, and whatever the abuser pumps into the brain of the victim might be taken as the gospel truth. And no wonder we see even men disguised as women. Women are vulnerable. They need to be protected. And more than ever, government must do all within its constitutional responsibilities, which is protecting lives and property.
In the meantime, a member of the Chibok community says he believes that Boko Haram has not been using some of the abducted schoolgirls as suicide bombers. Dr. Wakel Chibok told CoreTv News in Abuja that there is no proof that abducted girls are behind the recent spate of suicide bombs, and he was speaking against the backdrop of fears that the girls might have been indoctrinated after more than 100 days in captivity.
I don't think our girls are being used for suicide bombing. Anybody who tells you that one is not telling the truth. There are some men that dress like women, some of these suicide bombers. They put their women dresses and behave that they are women. Even the one that was caught in Kaduna, you know, he is a man, but he dressed in a woman dress. So nobody should, there's no evidence to prove that these girls were the one that were kidnapped and they were the one that were being used for this suicide bombing or something like that. I didn't see any evidence to agree to that.
As the August 9 governorship election draws near in Osun State, the expected arrival of security personnel is coming to fruition, but not without a backlash from Osun citizens. Rashid expressed the measures put in place by security agents and the difficulties faced by residents. The report.
The Ogolua axis of the dual carriage Bogon-Ibadan Road, also known as Ogolua Road in Oshogbo, is practically the busiest due to its importance as it aids free flow of traffic. The traffic congestion on the road has increased due to the presence of security personnel. Journalists were not spared as some materials were confiscated by the security agents. A motorist, Alabi Alim, says he is surprised at the display of force and the resultant traffic jam caused by the security men.
I'm surprised because this is not the usual thing. It's not the normal thing because this is democracy where I believe there is no need for police and so on the rest. I don't know. That's why I say I'm surprised.
Ogolua area of Oshogbo have the secretariats of major political parties like the PDP and the APC. This APC chieftain blamed the sudden outburst by men of the state security as sporadic shooting was earlier reported in some parts of Oshogbo by the DSS.
It's not fair, or it's not proper, but we are Nigerians. So this kind of things is not good in the civilized countries, but we are in Nigeria. So they use power. Yes, it's too, this thing, they want to panic our people, not to come out to vote. That's their mission.
A journalist, Nii Babade, says the harassment of journalists by the security agents is uncalled for. He said if this continues, people would be intimidated during the governorship election.
I've noticed them myself, the way they've been, you see masked men on the street, you know. If it's about election, if the security is purported to be about the election, then the people on the street should be allowed to go on their normal duty and transact their business. It shouldn't be these masked men on the street blaring their siren and making people to be terrified.
This is the popular Ogolua Road in Oshogbo, where we have most businesses located, most especially political parties and even federal government apparatus like the Department of State Security Service. And it is their activities that is building this kind of hold up. But most importantly, it is instilling fear in the minds of the people that if days to election, things like this are happening. What exactly will the day of election, the August night, what will it portend for the people of Osun? Rashid, CoreTv News, Oshogbo.
Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola has condemned the action of the Department of State Security. He described the sporadic shooting and recent harassment of journalists as unleashing terror on law-abiding citizens of the state.
All those who are here shooting indiscriminately to the air, covering their faces, they are acting against the law of Nigeria. They are acting against the law of Nigeria. Nigerian people pay their salary every month. Nigerian people bought the uniform for them, but we did not buy masks for them. Confirm. Nigerian citizens Do not buy masks for our law enforcement agency. Any agent acting under the cover of the Nigerian Constitution cannot mask in the presence of law-abiding citizens of Nigeria. Anyone that does so is acting against the Constitution. We will warn them officially, after which we will take our action against them. They have no right. They have no right to come and harass us in our own land. This is our land. God bless you. And until the end of our term, I'm the legitimate authority to govern this place.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that.
My term, this first term ends in November. And until that time, I am still the governor.
God bless you. God bless you.
I have the legitimate authority to secure life of our citizens. Nobody, and there will be nobody can threaten and persecute us. We are here. We are here with the full body of the law. And we shall explore the law to the fullest to protect our lives and the part of our
God bless you.
We are here under the law.
God bless you.
Nobody can act beyond the law. There is a law in Nigeria. We have a peaceful state. We have governed this state with the best effort possible to maintain law and order. Nobody can disrupt the peace of this state. We shall confront them if that is what they want from us.
The head of the World Health Organization and leaders of West African nations affected by the Ebola outbreak are to announce a joint $100 million response plan. The affected countries will meet in Guinea to launch the initiative aimed at tackling a virus which has claimed 729 lives. Sierra Leone's president has declared a public health emergency over the outbreak after the death of 233 people. Ebola kills up to 90% of those infected, with patients having a better chance of survival if they receive early treatment. And talking about Ebola surveillance, the Nigerian authorities have placed 69 people under surveillance as part of steps to prevent the spread of Ebola virus in the country. 2 persons have also been quarantined, while all entry points remain on red alert. The government, however, insists that there is still no cause for concern.
As at today, 59 persons altogether are either under quarantine or under surveillance. Those who are going to attend the same meeting in Calabar are all in Lagos under surveillance. All those who were in the same plane were going for that meeting. Actually, immediately the next day they had to be brought back through a special arrangement, brought back to be under. So currently they are under surveillance. The staff or persons who took care of him before the diagnosis, who may not have exercised all the necessary care, are also presently under quarantine. So that is what we're doing, and we said they will remain under this surveillance until a period of 3 weeks at least has actually elapsed, because 3 weeks is the maximum incubation period. So it's only 3 weeks from the date of contact that we can certify them after testing them as well as they are free of the disease. So that is the situation.
So far, the Ministry of Health has not reported any additional infection anywhere in Nigeria, apart from the person who came into the country and died. So far, there has not been any reported fresh case of any infection. What the ministry has stated clearly is that every step is being taken to control spread by ensuring that all people that had contact with the victim are monitored, quarantined, or surveilled to ensure that they also do not spread the virus just in case they're infected. But at the moment, there has not been any single additional incident of infection that has been reported. And this is important because we're beginning to see some panic reports, particularly in the social media, making all sorts of claims. And this is important because for me and for all of us, the media must be extremely professional.
Benue State has joined the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. That's talking about the commercial banks in Benue State in the ongoing strike, which commenced on July 30. The strike was to protest the deductions of staff salaries and non-payment of 3 years' transport allowances owed them. The workers were also protesting the non-implementation of the full minimum wage by the state government. Customers were stranded at the various banks in Makadi following the picketing of the banks by union officials. In the meantime, the federal government has launched the 10,000 affordable housing mortgage scheme. The scheme, according to Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is private sector driven to help eligible Nigerians acquire homes through mortgage. 10,000 Nigerians are expected to benefit from mortgages ranging from 2 million to 20 million naira under the scheme.
It's no longer news that Nigeria has a housing deficit of 17 million units. But what is new is that government is rolling out a mortgage scheme to address the shortfall. The first step was made by the Finance Ministry in conjunction with the Housing and Land Ministry. Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala says 10,000 people will be the first beneficiaries of the private sector-driven government initiative.
We jointly declare this open. Ibrahim applied for a 2-bedroom flat, and we hear from the CEO of some trust that within 3 days you're going to get some answer from him about whether you qualify. So we are going to track him down the middle of next week to find out if we have delivered. Thank you very much.
There are, however, specific criteria that an eligible applicant must fulfill.
You know, sometimes in our tradition, you know, maybe the man where they're paying, both of them are paying for this thing, but he goes and files only his name. So we don't want the women to be left out of this. So if both of you are paying for the property, then the name of the woman must also be part of it. Similarly, yes, I can see some of the men saying that the shoe can be on the other foot. Women, if your husband is joining you to pay for this property, his name must also feature on that. So that's the essence of that joint, because to avoid very palatable situations that arise, as we all know in our culture.
The scheme is to be powered by the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company.
People can build 30,000 in 2 months. You see, but you see, those people are not going to put the amount of investment required if they don't have what? Offtake. It's the offtake that we are creating. You see? So once that offtake is there, people now, investors have the wherewithal to say, you know what, I can now invest into this country so that we can now build 20, 30, 40, 50,000 houses.
To benefit from the scheme, an applicant is expected to log into the project website where applications will be received.
Nasarawa State Governor Tanko Almakura is not prepared to comment on the ongoing impeachment process in the state. He told journalists shortly after the National Council of State meeting that he would only speak when he appears before the investigative panel.
Once I appear before the committee to investigate me, you hear all my colleagues.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll bring you stories from outside Nigeria. Don't get away.
CoreTv News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Now outside Nigeria, for Gaza Strip's nearly 2 million residents, the damage to the solar power plant has worsened and already strangled infrastructure. Residents in need of medical care are the most affected. Here's the report.
60-year-old Enam suffers from pulmonary fibrosis and depends on oxygen therapy to breathe. Ever since Gaza's solar power plant was knocked out of commission by Israeli shelling, she has no more electricity at home to run our medical devices. And the local hospital, which runs on generators, isn't an option either.
When I go to the hospital, I don't find a place to sit to get oxygen.
Where should I go? I don't know where to go.
Hassan says they can't afford to run their own generator.
If I want to run the generator, I need 1.5 litres of gasoline every hour, and she needs to have electricity for 17 hours a day, so the cost of gasoline wouldn't be less than about $45 a day, and we can't afford that.
The Gaza power plant was hit several times by military strike. It's finally shut down after shells hit its fuel tanks, which erupted into massive fires. Technicians say it could take a year to repair the extensive damage, and Gaza can no longer depend on electricity from Israel.
Power lines feeding the Gaza Strip with electricity from Israel were also bombed, and they're not back to normal yet because there's no coordination.
Israel is waging war to destroy a network of tunnels in the Gaza Strip it says are used for attacks against the Jewish state. Smugglers have used those same tunnels to sneak petrol into the enclave blockaded by land, sea and air embargo. For the Strip's nearly 2 million residents, the damage to the power plant has only worsened what was already a strangled civilian infrastructure.
That's it. Thanks for watching. I'm Tolu Ojewumi. Good evening.